Hello and welcome to Assay TV. Today we're talking with Freeman Gold, and I have on the line their president and CEO, Will Randall, joining us from Idaho. Will, great to see you this evening. Freeman Gold, a relatively new company launched this year, looking to bring up to date a historical gold resource up there in Idaho. Tell us a little bit more about the sort of background to the company.
Yeah, we're a new company, so there's not a ton of background. The project's been around since the 80s and the 90s. Drilled off then, historical resource defined up to 1.2 million ounces. We were lucky enough to acquire it in late 2019. Went through the listing process and began trading around February of this year. We subsequently raised just over $10 million. Did some tidy up transactions to get 100% ownership of the underlying property, which was key. We now have 100% of all the patented and unpatented claims that surround the historical resource area. So we're able to drill it off at will and maximize the ounces, which we are currently doing. We have 2 drills on the project and are working away. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how we got started.
And it's a historical resource. When was it actually drilled out previously?
So it was discovered in the 80s by FMC, which is a major mining company still around today. Mm-hmm. And then was acquired by AGR that actually did most of the drilling. They put in, they have 355 drill holes in the asset when we acquired it. We've now put in a few more. And the majority of those were drilled by AGR in the 90s. And they intended to put this into production somewhere around 1998, 99. 1996 came around, gold prices tanked to below $300 an ounce, and they were forced to sell. They sold it to Meridian Gold, now Yamana, and because they were operating the nearby Bear Track mine, which is only 20 miles south. And what they were doing there is they were mining out the heap leachable component, and they were running out of ore. I think they had like 4 or 5 years of mine life left. And the Lemhi property that we have now, at that point was 1.2 million ounces with the entire heap leachable component untouched. So it was their intention to progress that through to production and process it in the same facilities, 20 miles south. That never happened as well. Gold prices did not recover in time. They had great success in South America and instead ended up also shutting down the Bear Track mine, and both these projects essentially sat undeveloped until we came around.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And how much drilling do you need to do to bring it up to a sort of modern standard?
Yeah, so we're going to have the first maiden 43101 compliant resource estimate out early next year, as a result of 5,000 meters that we're completing. So the answer to your question is 5,000 meters. We've completed 3,300 of those already. Have a bunch of samples in the assay lab, so we should get in drill results in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And then we'll have continuous news flow out to the market based on drill results, those 5,000 meters through till about January, February next year. And we'll follow that up with a resource estimate shortly after that. In this first round, we are focusing 100% within the patented claims and the known historical mineralized area to get our first resource out there. So the risk is relatively low. We're staying within known zones. We're drilling the top 200 meters, of which contains all the heap leachable component. These are flatline structures, so it's very potentially amenable to open pit scenarios as well. So these are very valuable ounces that we are defining with not a lot of money.
But it's, as you say, it's a very shallow deposit. Are there do you believe there are maybe extensions at depth?
Yes, I do, and I think we have very good indications even based on our current drilling. We left a few holes go a little deeper, and we are seeing mineralization extend. We had a lot of expectation that this would happen. AGR, when it drilled it off, would often stop the drill holes in ore because they were already in the sulfide zone, and they were just looking at the heap leachable component. And this is fairly common in the area. Revival Gold, which operates south of us, has been successful at finding an extra 3 million ounces below these heap leachable open pits. So yeah, we have full expectations to be able to grow this, which brings me to our phase 2 drilling, which will carry on next year, the first half of our next year. In our first 5,000 meters, we want to define that 1 million ounce type deposit at around a gram per ton in the top 200 meters. Then in phase 2, we're calling that our resource expansion phase. These things are wide open on strike beyond the patented claims and wide open at depth, like we just discussed. So phase 2 will concentrate on both of those. And that's the way we see ourselves to about a 1.5 to 2 million ounce target by mid next year.
And as you've mentioned, there's a number of other mining companies in the area. Idaho as a place for doing business, for mining, how is it as a jurisdiction?
It's fantastic. I mean, not only is it a great mining jurisdiction, as in, you know, they want the industry in there. The communities are supportive of mining, but as well, there's a huge amount of activity right now. So majors are moving in, a lot of capital, a lot of mid-tier companies developing assets, which makes our job obviously a lot easier as well. You know, when there's a lot of activity around you, being part of that is much easier than being off on your own in a more, I guess, faraway country or jurisdiction.
Absolutely. And how are you able to fund all this activity?
Well, we raised just over 10 million in July. It was an oversubscribed deal. We upsized from 6.5 to 10.35, so there was a lot of appetite. We did that at 50 cents, so similar to, you know, we've been trading in the 60 cents range, 60, 70 since then. So everyone's done well so far, and we have drill results coming, and that's what's funding all of our drilling.
And you have enough money in the bank to take you all the way through to the end of your sort of planned drilling campaign, yeah?
Yeah, we're well funded for our drill campaign. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And the background to the management team, you were previously, I think, down in Argentina working on a lithium project. It must be a bit of a change of scene for you.
Yes, it's a welcome change. I'm actually born and raised in Argentina, so it was you know, a natural fit for me. I went down early, and we're one of the early movers in the lithium industry, where I acquired and discovered an asset that then, when we teamed up with our current management, Paul Matisik and Bassam, listed it in LithiumX in 2016. And over a 2.5-year period, we were able to get that into pre-production stage and then sold it off for 265 million to a Chinese group that's now operating the asset successfully. So, you know, that's a great team. We've managed to assemble Paul, Bassam, and then we also have our VPX, Dean and Tom, helping us out in Freeman. And Paul is, you know, one of the legends in the mining space. He's done this 5 times already. He had an undervalued asset such as ours, maximize the resource, de-risk the asset from a property standpoint, social, environmental, and get it into a production stage or production decision stage. And in his case, most of the times sold it off before it actually went into production. I think its combined transaction value is $2.8 billion over 5 companies. And, you know, 2 of those were in Argentina, 3 of those were in Argentina during my time as well. So I've been working closely with Paul for a while. And we're proud to say that 3 of those assets are currently in production at this time. So a lot of value generated and worked out for the buyers as well.
Fantastic. And I guess, you know, processing lithium brines and things like that, you know, compare that to just a simple open pit heap leach project, must be a lot more simple.
Absolutely. There are 3, I guess there are now 4 operating lithium brine projects in the world. So your expertise is very, very limited. As you know, there are hundreds and thousands of heap leach gold mines operating in the world. The expertise is there, the knowledge is there. It is much more straightforward from a technical standpoint, and in particular the jurisdiction. I mean, I was working on that asset for a long time and went, you know, through and up and down with Argentina over the years. So having Idaho as a backdrop makes just a fantastic difference.
And you mentioned you've got drill rigs turning at the moment. Has the pandemic affected your operations at all?
Thankfully, not significantly. I mean, it affects all of us. Here I am sitting, you know, instead of meeting you in person, for example, and a lot of different aspects, but the drilling hasn't slowed down. We have our crews on site, you know, completing all the groundwork. We have about 40 people down there So it's busy, and we have not experienced significant delays as a result, thankfully.
And so you're expecting sort of more news flow as the drilling results start to come out. So you mentioned you've got some results in the labs at the moment. So assays pending.
Assays pending, yeah. We've got a huge amount in there, and so we've completed 16 drill holes, and we have the half of those already in the assay lab, and the turnaround has been promised, 3 weeks from today. So we expect to have news flow, and once it comes, it keeps continuing, right? So we'll have news out in 3 to 4 weeks, and then that'll be continuous through into 2021, and the end result will be our 43101 compliant resource estimate.
Excellent. Well, exciting times ahead for the company. Thank you very much for joining us today. That's been a fascinating insight into your company, and good luck with the results.
All right. Well, thank you very much.